All right, so we've got a really interesting one today.
Yeah, looks like we're going deep on mental toughness this time.
That's right. Our listeners feeling a bit stuck.
Yeah, that happens.
Motivation's taking a dip. Self-doubt's creeping in. They're
I know.
feeling.
We've all been there.
And get this, the sources they send are 5 hypnosis audio sessions.
Really?
5 hypnosis sessions.
Hmm. Interesting.
Not your typical deep dive material, but hey, that's what we're here for, right?
Absolutely. Always up for a challenge.
That's the spirit. And luckily, we have our expert here to help us decode all the psychology gold hidden in these sessions.
Well, I'm excited to see what we can uncover. Even if you're not into hypnosis, these sessions can offer some pretty valuable insights.
Exactly. It's like we're on a psychological treasure hunt.
I like that.
So let's start by defining mental toughness. One of the sessions, Develop Supreme Mental Toughness, talks about focusing on the process, not the outcome.
Right, that's a key concept.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
Okay, so picture this, a tennis player in the Wimbledon final.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Pressure is immense. The crowd is roaring. But to reach peak mental toughness, they can't get caught up in winning or losing.
So they have to block all that out.
Exactly. They need to be completely present in each swing, each point, just playing the best tennis they can in that moment, as if it were any other match.
So it's like quieting that inner voice that's always predicting doom or glory and just getting into the flow.
Exactly. Silencing those what-ifs and focusing on what you can control right now.
So for our listener who's feeling stuck, this could mean breaking down their goals into smaller steps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Instead of fixating on the huge end goal, which could be paralyzing, you focus on the immediate next step. And completing that step, however small, becomes a win.
I like that. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't stare at the summit the whole time. You focus on finding your next foothold.
Perfect analogy. Now, another session, Don't Take It Personally,
Yeah.
digs into dealing with criticism and that pesky self-doubt. We all struggle with this, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But this session makes a crucial distinction between feedback and criticism.
Okay, what's the difference?
Feedback focuses on your actions, what you did or didn't do, while criticism attacks you as a person.
So if someone says you're lazy, that's criticism. But if they say, maybe put a bit more effort into this next time, that's feedback.
Exactly. One tears you down, the other gives you something to work with.
So it's about the intention behind it.
In a way, yes. The key takeaway here is that criticism often comes from the other person's emotions, not some objective truth about you.
That's a good point to remember. It's easy to take things personally.
It is. And it makes you wonder, is your self-doubt operating like an internal critic, constantly bombarding you with those same unhelpful judgments?
Whoa, yeah. It's like we've internalized all those negative voices and let them run wild.
It's a common pattern.
Yeah.
So how do we break free? The session suggests developing a duck's back mentality, letting unhelpful criticism roll off you.
Okay, so not ignoring all feedback, just recognizing what's actually constructive.
Right. It's about filtering out the noise and focusing on what helps you grow.
And speaking of growth, the fear of failure is a huge obstacle for a lot of people. The session Fear of Failure really dives into this.
And it reminds us that failure is rarely absolute. There's almost always something to be learned, even from what we perceive as setbacks.
So it's not really failure, it's just feedback.
It can be seen that way. Take the discovery of penicillins, for example.
Mm.
Alexander Fleming failed to keep his Petri dishes clean.
And that's how he discovered penicillin.
Exactly. A happy accident. If he hadn't failed, we might not have this life-saving antibiotic today.
Wow, that's a great example. So it's not about avoiding failure altogether, which is impossible, but about changing how we view it.
Exactly. And that brings us to a related, but often unspoken fear, the fear of success.
Fear of success, how does that work?
Well, the session Fear of Success dives into the anxieties that success can trigger.
So it's not the success itself that's scary, but what comes with it.
It can be. The changes the responsibilities, the fear of not being able to handle it all.
That makes sense. It's
Okay.
like, what if I succeed and then my life falls apart?
Right? It's a fear of the unknown. And one key takeaway here is that success isn't a solo endeavor. It often has ripple effects benefiting others as well.
So it's not just about me, it's about the positive impact it can have on others.
Exactly. Visualize your success and how it could benefit those around you.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of, can I handle this? It becomes, what good can come from this?
And remember, success is relative. Even if you became president of the entire world in the grand scheme of the universe, it's still a relatively small accomplishment.
That's a good point. It's all about perspective. And speaking of perspective, let's circle back to motivation. Our listeners looking for practical ways to get unstuck and take action.
Right. And the home improvement motivation section offers some interesting ideas on this.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
Well, think about walking into a cluttered, disorganized room. How do you feel?
Overwhelmed. Definitely not motivated to start any project.
Now, imagine walking into a clean, well-organized space. How does that shift your mindset?
Oh, that's totally different. I feel energized, like I can actually get things done.
Exactly. Our environment can either drain or amplify our energy.
Yeah.
And this applies not just to our physical spaces, but also to our mental and emotional environments.
Okay, now I'm really curious. How do we declutter our mental and emotional space?
It starts with awareness. What thoughts and emotions are you surrounding yourself with? Are you feeding your mind negativity, self-doubt, limiting beliefs? Or are you cultivating a mental space filled with positivity, self-compassion, and empowering thoughts?
That's a good question. It's like taking stock of our mental inventory and seeing what needs to go. But how do we actually get rid of those negative thought patterns?
Well, that's where those visualization techniques from the hypnosis sessions come into play. Remember those exercises?
Yeah, kinda.
Well, they're not just for achieving external goals. They can be used to create a more positive internal environment as well.
So we can use visualization to rewire our thought patterns.
Exactly. Imagine using those techniques to literally change your mindset and build a more resilient outlook.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about pushing away negative thoughts, but about actively replacing them with more supportive ones.
Precisely. And the Don't Take It Personally session talks about this too. It emphasizes the power of choosing to focus on the positive. Instead of dwelling on criticisms and setbacks, you shift your attention to your strengths, your accomplishments, the things you're grateful for.
It's like building an immunity to negativity. The more we expose ourselves to positivity, the stronger our resistance becomes.
I like that.
Yeah.
And just as small home improvements can have a ripple effect, creating a more positive mental environment can positively impact every aspect of your life.
It's like upgrading your mental operating system, right? Paving the way for smoother functioning and greater resilience.
Exactly. Now let's connect this back to taking action. We can have all the mental toughness in the world, but without action, it's useless.
Right. It's like having a fancy sports car, but never taking it out of the garage.
The Develop Supreme Mental Toughness session emphasizes being process-oriented, focusing on taking steps rather than getting overwhelmed by the end goal.
So ditching procrastination and embracing action.
Exactly. And the Home Improvement Motivation session takes us a step further, emphasizing breaking down large tasks into smaller, manageable chunks.
Okay, that makes sense. It's less intimidating that way.
Right. And each step completed, no matter how small, is a victory in itself. Those small wins fuel motivation and keep you moving forward.
So it's a self-perpetuating cycle. Action creates motivation, which fuels more action, and so on.
Precisely. And as we've seen this combination of mental toughness strategies, a positive environment, and consistent action can really unlock your true potential.
This is all great stuff. But before we wrap up part one, I think we need to talk about self-compassion.
Oh, absolutely. A key ingredient in all of this.
But how does self-compassion fit into mental toughness? They seem almost like opposites.
They might seem that way, but they're actually deeply connected. When we're overly self-critical, we're essentially bullying ourselves. And that negativity drains our energy and makes it harder to bounce back from challenges.
Okay, I see that.
Self-compassion, on the other hand, gives us the space to acknowledge our struggles without judgment and to treat ourselves with kindness.
So it's not about letting ourselves off the hook, but about being supportive like we would be to a friend.
Exactly. And that kind of support can be incredibly empowering. It allows us to acknowledge our imperfections without shame and to approach challenges with a more optimistic attitude. It's like giving ourselves permission to be human flaws and all of that.
This is all such great food for thought, and I think it's a perfect place to pause for now.
Agreed. We've covered a lot of ground.
We've unpacked a ton of insights from these hypnosis sessions, but there's still more to explore.
Definitely.
So join us for part two, where we'll dive even deeper into the power of self-compassion and how it can help you build unshakable mental toughness and motivation.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. So before we jump ahead, I think it's worth spending a little more time on self-compassion.
You know, I'm all for that.
We were talking about how it's like being a good friend to ourselves, but how does that being nice thing actually make us mentally tougher?
Yeah, good question.
It's not about lowering our standards or just accepting mediocrity, right?
Right.
It's about seeing ourselves clearly, with all our flaws, and still choosing to be kind and understanding.
So recognizing that we're all works in progress, we're going to mess up sometimes.
Exactly. And that doesn't make us failures.
Yeah.
The Don't Take It Personally session talks about separating feedback from criticism.
Mm.
When we're overly self-critical, it's like we're internalizing those harsh judgments.
Yeah, it's like we're our own worst critics.
And that kind of negative self-talk, it can be really destructive.
Yeah, it chips away at your confidence, makes it harder to bounce back.
So how do we change that script? How do we replace that inner critic with a more supportive voice?
Yeah, how do we do that?
Well, mindfulness plays a big role here. It's
Yeah.
about being present in the moment without judgment.
So noticing our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them?
Exactly. Mindfulness gives us that space between our thoughts and our reactions.
So we can choose a different response.
Right. And this connects back to the Develop Supreme Mental Toughness session. Remember the emphasis on being process-oriented.
Yeah.
When we're mindful, we can stay focused on what we're doing without those distractions or negative thoughts pulling us off track.
So it's like clearing out the mental clutter to create a more focused headspace.
Right. Now, how do we bring this into action, the home improvement motivation
Yeah.
session? What do you remember about that one?
It was about cleaning up your space.
Right. And it's not enough to have a clean, organized mental space. We need to actually do something with it.
Yeah, you can't just sit around admiring your clean mental space all day.
That session emphasized breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
Makes it less daunting, right?
Right. And each step you complete, no matter how small, is a victory in itself.
It's the little wins that keep you going.
Exactly. And here's where self-compassion comes back in. It's not just about celebrating the wins, it's also about how we treat ourselves when we stumble.
Because let's be real, we're not going to be perfect all the time.
Exactly. Life throws curveballs. And when that happens, self-compassion is key. Instead of beating ourselves up for those missteps, we can choose to be kind to ourselves.
Like we would be to a friend.
Exactly. Remember the fear of failure session. It encourages us to question our definitions of success and failure.
Right, because sometimes what we see as a failure is actually a learning opportunity.
Exactly. And that brings us to a key insight here, the interconnectedness of all these things. Mental toughness, motivation, self-compassion.
It's like they all work together.
Right. They're not separate skills. They're all part of a holistic approach to well-being.
It's like weaving a tapestry of mental resilience.
Exactly. And this holistic approach is what allows us to navigate challenges, bounce back from setbacks, and achieve our goals while staying true to ourselves.
Oh, okay. This is all fantastic stuff. But I think it's time to move on to part 3.
Oh, good.
There's still so much more to explore, and I'm really curious to see how all of this can be applied to specific challenges. So join us for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll connect all these dots and offer some practical takeaways you can start using today. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive. We've uncovered some serious mental toughness gold in these hypnosis sessions, but how do we actually use all of this stuff?
It's about creating a personalized strategy for your own challenges. Mental toughness isn't about becoming some unfeeling robot.
Right, it's not about suppressing emotions.
Exactly. It's about developing the skills to deal with whatever life throws at you.
So we need the right tools for the job.
Right, like understanding your thought patterns, recognizing your triggers for self-doubt or negativity.
Having those strategies ready to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, even if you're not actively doing hypnosis, just listening to these sessions could have some subconscious effects.
Really? Like subliminal messaging.
It's possible. The power of suggestion is real. And these sessions are designed to influence thought patterns. So even passive listening could have benefits.
So it's like there's this conscious level where we're actively applying the techniques, and then this subconscious level where the positive messages are sinking in.
Exactly. It's all connected.
That's pretty wild. So it's not just about what we're actively trying to change, but also what we're exposing ourselves to.
Right. Music podcasts,
Yeah.
even those hypnosis sessions. It all shapes our thinking.
Okay. That's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's also empowering, right? We have more control over our minds than we realize.
Absolutely. So let's bring it back to self-compassion, because we're not going to be perfect all the time, are we?
Definitely not. And that's where self-compassion comes in. It's about being kind to ourselves when we mess up.
Giving ourselves a break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember that fear of failure session? It reminded us that setbacks are opportunities for growth.
It's all about perspective.
And that's where self-compassion helps. It allows us to acknowledge those stumbles without judgment and get back on track.
It's like having your own personal cheerleader in your corner.
And those visualization techniques we talked about can really help with this too.
Hmm.
Remember that TV screen exercise?
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, you can use that to visualize yourself navigating challenges successfully. Imagine yourself using those mental toughness tools we've discussed and coming out stronger on the other side.
Like mental rehearsal for real life.
Exactly. And the more you practice these visualizations, the more automatic those positive responses will become.
Wow, this has been an amazing deep dive. We've covered so much ground, and I feel like I have a whole new understanding of mental toughness and motivation.
Me too. It's been a great exploration.
And it's really up to each of us to take these insights and make them our own.
Absolutely. Experiment. See what works for you.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
There are so many resources out there to help you on your path.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring the power of your own mind.
That's the key.
Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep flexing those mental muscles.